Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. Holy crap, guys! The SEC actually gave the Hinman emails and speech drafts to Ripple. This is Moon Lambo retweeting out Stuart Alderoty's tweet. So the big news, guys, the emails now have been released. Stuart Alderoty tweeted this out yesterday evening. Over 18 months and 6 court orders later, we finally have the Hinman docs, internal SEC emails and drafts of the infamous 2018 speech. While they remain confidential for now at the SEC's insistence, I can say that it was well worth the fight to get them. He goes on to say, I've always felt good about our legal arguments and I feel even better now. I always felt bad about the SEC's tactics and I feel even worse about them now. So what is that saying without really saying it? Stuart Alderoty here saying, you know what? Our assumptions were right. We should have fought for these, and they did fight for them, and now they have received them after 6 attempts. They are still confidential, so I'm assuming a lot of redacted material in there. However, what is in these emails is clearly juicy because he said, you know, it was well worth the fight to get them. It's very likely that there's a lot of information in these emails that the SEC did not want to get out. Unfortunately, though, we do not know the specifics, the actual contents yet of the emails. And it hasn't actually moved the XRP price. XRP is still trading at around 44 cents, similar to what it was trading at yesterday. This is XRP on the daily. Not too much movement for XRP. You know, a lot of us were thinking that we would have seen something similar to what we saw over here. When we got the news back in mid-late September, we did see a pump for XRP. This is around the time that we were getting an indication that a settlement was likely going to occur. And now the emails, the infamous emails, and, we really haven't seen much. Let's throw this on the hourly. Just so you guys can see what it's looking like on the hourly. I guess we did see a bit of a spike yesterday evening, although nothing really sustainable and nothing really terribly dramatic either. I mean, it was no 75%, that's for sure. So XRP still hovering in and around this level of support, where it's finding old resistance here from back in May. So old resistance forming new support for XRP. So, nothing really interesting with regards to price. Let me just bring up Bitcoin real quickly here. Bitcoin staying relatively flat as well. Right now, just hovering under $19,000 at about $18,995 per BTC. So nothing really spurring on any market activity. However, that might change for XRP very, very soon. XRP Crypto Wolf bringing this up. Ripple is closer to victory as the SEC finally gave them the Hinman documents. So guys, here it is officially. Ripple's general counsel, Stuart Alderoty, just revealed that the SEC has finally compiled with the court order to turn over the long-demanded Hinman emails. Alderoty made the revelation via Twitter, celebrating the move as a victory for Ripple, as the documents strengthen the blockchain company's legal arguments. He added that the documents are internal SEC emails and drafts of the regulator's former director of corporate finance's infamous 2018 speech, and are still sealed from the public. So here is the official tweet from James K. Filan. Hinman docs turned over to Ripple, see below. And unfortunately, they are confidential. So the XRP community will not get the information in the documents, at least not yet. While they remain confidential for now at the SEC's insistence, I can say that it was well worth the wait. Okay, so that's the Stuart Alderoty tweet. Feeling good about how they pursued this and feeling even better about the SEC's tactics and how they haven't been completely above board. Ripple not compromising on its position. The SEC turned in the documents in compliance with the court order passed late last month by the U.S. District Court Judge Annalisa Torres. Before the latest ruling, the securities watchdog had flouted 6 other orders to turn in the documents. My question is, I wonder why now? Why, after 5 rejections of the order, are they doing it now on the 6th? Meanwhile, Ripple is not shifting grounds on its position that the SEC has no legal grounds to prove that the XRP Ledger blockchain's native token XRP is a security. In a newly unsealed memorandum of law filed by Ripple defendants to object to the SEC's motions for summary judgment, the company argued that the SEC is still employing tactics that amount to overreach. So let's get into it, guys. The Stuart Alderoty tweet here, obviously feeling good. Always feeling good about the legal arguments and feeling even better now. Tipsy Tiger down here responding. So it sounds like the SEC only agreed not to fight this anymore, provided Ripple did not release them to the public yet. That to me sounds like now there is serious negotiations to take place. So we have been assuming that we would see some kind of settlement talks over the last 2 years, basically, that we would, have heard of some kind of settlement discussion opportunity. But now more than ever, considering the SEC does not want this information to get to the public, that they are confidentially letting Ripple's attorneys see these documents, see these emails. Now more than ever does Ripple have the leverage. A Fields down here saying, to me, it sounds like if there were any plans to settle in the works, they would have done so before turning over the emails. So it's onward summary judgment and beyond. Interesting perspective. But I don't think Ripple would have made such a drastic move if they knew they were going to get information from the emails to have as leverage. Brad Garlinghouse also coming out on Twitter and saying, the SEC wants you to think that it cares about disclosure, transparency, and clarity. Don't believe them. When the truth eventually comes out, the shamefulness of their behavior here will shock you. Wow. If that ain't an accusation, I do not know what is. But great to see the CEO of Ripple, coming out and saying that. XRP Crow down here saying, congrats, Brad. Soon we all celebrate the grand victory against the SEC. Retweeting out a Brad Garlinghouse quote from December of 2020. We are not only on the right side of the law, but we will be on the right side of history. Rob XRP up here saying, this is a massive statement coming from Brad Garlinghouse. Please stay tuned to when the Hinman emails will be made public. They should be extremely destructive to the corrupt SEC. Let them burn. Well, you know who else has come out? Elon Musk. This coming from Stephanie Starr here. Finally, XRP community welcomes you at Elon Musk. And Elon actually responded to Brad's tweet up here. No way. Well, we know Elon doesn't respect the SEC. And so a bit of a sarcastic remark here from Elon. But he does follow Brad Garlinghouse and did notice his tweet here. Things that make you go, There is a possible connection to Elon Musk and XRP. I did a video on it, I think last year, maybe even 2 years ago now. I'll see if I can find it, and I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner. It's not unusual that Elon is responding to Brad's tweet here. I mean, I think he's got his thumb on the pulse of everything technological, and, he knows we exist. He knows the XRP community is here fighting the SEC. He just hasn't been that vocal, at least not until now. Wanted to thank Stephanie Starr just for posting that. We've also got Jeremy Hogan, guys, weighing in here. Well. The Hinman emails have been produced. Then he retweeted out Brad Garlinghouse's tweet here. Never saw that happening, says adult in the room. Guess that lessens the settlement chances. Jeremy Hogan responding, hate to toot my own horn, but I will anyway. I personally don't think the SEC will appeal because it risks adverse binding case authority by doing so. Bad facts equals bad law. And these are bad facts. Okay, interesting. Another one here by Jeremy Hogan. What is going on in the Ripple versus SEC case? Well, the parties have filed with the court under seal reply briefs to each other's motions for summary judgment. We can't see these yet. They also filed numerous exhibits, etc., which we also cannot see. Number 2, the parties are speaking today, which was yesterday, about the parts in the brief they want redacted. The summary judgment briefs from last month really talk past each other, so these are the briefs where we'll really see how strong each position is, i.e., what response will the SEC have for these. The briefs are scheduled to be made public next Monday, but last month the SEC ignored the deadline and filed it a day early. So that means we could see them, guys, possibly even on Sunday or Monday. So he's saying, be on the lookout for those to drop. After that, there's just one more brief on November the 15th, and then we are basically done. So still eyeing that date, November 15th. Perhaps now with this new information with the Hinman emails, there could be settlement talks. There will likely be settlement talks. Who knows if a settlement will actually happen, but I'm fairly confident that at this point, there will be settlement talks. Who knows if they'll agree, though. Bill at Belisarius here pointing this out. Okay, people may say, why not engage in serious settlement discussions before releasing the documents to Ripple? Well, if I was a Ripple attorney at this stage, I would not participate in settlement discussions without their disclosure. This was the remaining evidence not disclosed after the filing of the objections to the SJ motion, the summary judgment motions with their exhibits. When you settle, you need to give up something, okay? So think about this from a tactical standpoint, guys. If you're a lawyer, and Bill's a lawyer, you need to have leverage. And so why would you settle if you had no leverage? You need to give up something, as he points out here. If I was advising Ripple to give up something to settle, I would insist on seeing these documents before starting settlement talks. Ripple probably insisted on seeing them, and the SEC said okay, but only on a confidential basis. And this is why we're getting the Hinman speech on a confidential basis only. They're not released to the public. The timing of the handing over of the Hinman speech documents and the confidential basis in which they have been delivered all indicates serious settlement talks are imminent. So Bill also saying this. There are likely going to be talks. I mean, okay, this is my lay person's opinion. There are probably already talks or negotiations or preparations for a settlement talk. But again, settlement talks are very different than a settlement, a signed and sealed settlement where we get a final conclusion. So we don't know if we have the verdict yet, but settlement talks likely happening right now. Bill goes on saying, I wouldn't be surprised if the SEC has reserved its right to appeal if settlement talks fail as a condition for handing them over. And then Krapoju Bitum down here saying, why a settlement when things are almost finished and Ripple will surely win? I don't see the point except giving credits to the SEC. Well, things aren't over yet, and a settlement would still have to be in Ripple's favor. Remember, Ripple does not want to see XRP become a security, and that was one of their major points. So if the SEC agrees to that big point, probably now Ripple's got a lot more leverage, so probably now Ripple will likely probably ask for a lot more, request a lot more in these settlement talks, these new set of talks. We likely won't see a verdict unless this happens, and now settlement could be different than it was 6 months ago and certainly 12 and 18 months ago. So wanted to thank Bill for posting that. Anders also bringing this up. Few people predicted that the SEC would hand over the Hinman emails. And Frank posting this, okay, I'm not so sure that it's actually a good sign. Interesting. Maybe it was only a delay tactic. Anders continues by saying, consider Brad's words about the emails, and I consider that very unlikely. So some conflicting points of view here, but you know what? It's always good to ruminate. It's always good to look at both sides of the story, obviously. So wanted to thank Anders, wanted to thank Bill, wanted to thank Jeremy, wanted to thank Stephanie, and everybody here that I've mentioned, maybe haven't mentioned, in this tweet thread. Let me continue, guys. Eleanor Turret here, bringing us the skivvy on summary judgment. In its opposition to the SEC's motion for summary judgment, Ripple's lawyers made use of affidavits signed by XRP users or purchasers, as they refer to them in the document, explaining how they did not expect profits from Ripple's efforts when they made their investment. So it's looking as though John Deaton's work has paid off. This means the voices of some of the XRP community were heard because of John Deaton's work as Amicus curiae. He tells me this will officially poke holes in the SEC's argument that XRP holders entered into an investment contract with Ripple. And guys, there is still more to come here. XRP Crypto Wolf saying, I've never met an XRP holder that expected direct profits from Ripple. Everyone knew what they were getting into when they invested. Air Force Dave saying, the point is that many people purchased XRP purely for its utility as a payment vehicle and didn't care about the value of it all. And this is what, the Amicus briefs are proving now, like, for example, from iRemit, from TapJets, just to name a couple. These companies have a vested interest in XRP specifically. They utilize XRP as a payment tool, as a liquidity provider, not relying on Ripple's efforts. They're working at scale at this moment in time. And so I have a feeling too that, the SEC is likely realizing that the Amicus briefs are piling up. I think we were at 7 or maybe 8. I'm not entirely sure. All these companies were coming out of the woodwork and, providing Amicus briefs to the court. And I mean, it was just killing. I mean, at least the optics were, it was just killing the SEC's case. Because now, when you have all these other companies backing Ripple up in a capacity that essentially squashes the SEC's main arguments, well, do you really have a leg to stand on at that point? Air Force Dave continues by saying, so in fact, they're not expecting profit nor loss. When you're spending it, it's better for both parties that it doesn't move in price. So John Deaton's Amicus brief obviously is helping as well. Wanted to thank Eleanor for that. And just to add on to that, Wrath of Kahneman went through the document. This footnote, the SEC's own expert said it would have been futile for Ripple to seek a no-action letter from the SEC as early as 2019. The SEC's own expert, and then the name is redacted here, was unable to dispute that it would have been futile to seek a no-action letter from the SEC prior to 2019, which likely means that the SEC weren't prepared enough to tell Ripple yes or no either way. Wrath of Kahneman here just explaining it. Something akin to them saying we couldn't have told you even if you asked. Their own expert admitted they didn't have guidance to offer them at that point in time. 2019 was still too early. The Hinman speech we know happened in 2018, so a year before that. Things looking very messy, and that's good for us. That's good for Ripple. That's good for XRP holders. Fred Rispoli, Freddie Riz here on Twitter, also bringing his 2 cents to the matter. My thoughts on the emails being released. The first point is that the SEC appears to be entering the final stage of grief. acceptance. I'm surprised it did not request an appeal on the email issue because that was a free automatic delay. Just asking and ultimately not even filing a brief and risking bad precedent would have bought an extra 30 to 60 days, but it really would have pissed off the court. So that's probably why the SEC ultimately folded on this front. As to the emails themselves, he says expect them or a reference to them to appear in Ripple's reply motion for summary judgment, or even Ripple asking for permission to file a supplement to its opposition just posted today, the 20th of October. Although I lean in them being included in the reply, as it is procedurally easier, even though Ripple's motion for summary judgment doesn't squarely address the issue. Many of you have speculated this is likely as well, namely Ashley Prosper here. But what does it mean? I became very bullish on the near guarantee of Ripple winning after this summer's disaster oral argument, and the expert witness and summary judgment motions only strengthen my convictions. But I expect the case to go through to summary judgment. So Fred Rispoli thinking no settlement, summary judgment. Why? Well, one exit ramp for settlement was the order for these emails had to be produced as stated by others too. But the order has passed, no reconsideration filed, no appeal filed, and they've been produced, and still no settlement. A lot has been going on behind the scenes with a lot of politicians talking to the SEC, hat tip off to all of you, and FOIA requests flying. Regardless of what happens with Ripple's possession of the emails, the XRP army is going to fight for them, and there are 2 federal court orders that say they are important, not DPP and not ACP. SEC has to start looking past the Ripple case and literally saving its own people from civil and criminal litigation after this case. Although it's a dumpster fire for the SEC, no matter how you slice it, actually one of the best things it can do now is take the case all the way and lose at summary judgment to protect its arguments that the case wasn't a sham from the get-go, which of course we know it was. Because keep in mind, unless the SEC reaches out to John Deaton, which they don't want to do, or tries to buy protection for Hinman and Clayton in connection with settlement against Ripple, the SEC still has to deal with hundreds of thousands of claims from people and entities it knowingly and purposely effed over in filing this garbage case to begin with. So there is a lot on the line for the SEC, and I see Fred's point here. They might take it all the way just to, kind of thumb their nose up to us in the dying days of this as we win. I mean, it would be one last kick in the ass. I mean, it would be a total douche move, but would we expect any less from the SEC? Fred finalizes his tweet thread here by saying, in a poker analogy, the SEC is pot committed with a 7-2 hand. So basically, they're all in and they've got crap. They've got nothing. Lastly, I would love to be proven gloriously wrong and a settlement is announced tomorrow, but this is what I'm thinking as of now. So Fred Rispoli here giving his 2 cents. No settlement because of, well, the reasons he outlined in this tweet thread. Looking on the positive side, though, David Schwartz, maybe this is the exhaustion talking after a week of going to bed at 1 a.m. and getting up at 7, but I feel more positive about Ripple's prospects and those for the entire crypto space now than I have in the last 6 years. And I don't think this is referencing the Ripple SEC case specifically, but I'm sure the positive news has given him some hope. So the crypto space, in terms of what David Schwartz is saying, not so much price appreciation for certain cryptocurrencies, but the maturation, the adoption, especially considering he works for Ripple, he's seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Crypto is on its way to mass adoption. Ripple definitely going to be at the forefront, and price guys will eventually catch up with, the real world utility, the real demand for cryptocurrencies like XRP. The spec run is fine. I mean, we're all going to make more money when tokens run based on speculation. That's just half of it, though. I mean, it's fun to take profits on some spec coins just to see some profit. I mean, I am not against that whatsoever. But the real coins, guys, the coins that hold value are going to be the coins that solve problems. I don't know how many times I've said that on this channel. And I think the Ripple versus SEC case, the verdict, once we finally get that verdict, that is really what's going to have an impact. And I think to a broader point, that is what David Schwartz is likely talking about here. He sees the importance of the Ripple SEC case. He understands that this is going to have not just an impact on XRP and likely XRP price, but overall adoption, and more importantly, overall adoption in the United States. So what now? Metatron posting this. I see a lot of people expecting Ripple to fight for the whole market, but they don't have to. I think given the chance, Ripple goes for a settlement with clarity. If these emails are as bad as we think they are, what could the SEC possibly argue at summary judgment? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, though. And he was just responding to Hugh Breslin's tweet here. SEC will not risk losing on summary judgment or fair notice if it ever goes that far. So people sound a little split here, although we do know, as per Stuart Alderati, the emails likely hold the key to what we need. And then I am Legion down here posting this. My guess is that John Deaton's worst fear comes true. And let's hope this doesn't happen, guys. The SEC drops the case so XRP doesn't get the clarity. And this is the thumbing of the nose that I was talking about. It was all about delays and revolving doors this whole time. I am not by any means wishing this on us, but it is certainly a possibility. So guys, there's still more to come. Stay tuned. The saga continues. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.